Hi, thanks for watching this last week of the year, our technology tips. This week, we're talking about the things that we're looking forward to and the big things that are probably going to change this year in technology. And the number one, I believe, locally, I think, the big change is going to be in how local companies manage their IT. Maybe this is wishful thinking, but I've heard a lot of things over the years about other management companies, other managed services IT companies, doing things unethically, not maintaining things properly, not doing backups like they say they are, not giving the proper time to recovery, time to response. And I think the people are going to start catching on to that. I'll help them catch on to it, but I think that we're going to see, as people find out or figure out that their companies are not being completely honest with them, they're going to get a little more skeptical and they're going to ask more questions, and more questions that get them the answers that they need to make the right decisions. So maybe a little bit of wishful thinking, maybe I'm being a little optimistic, but what I hope happens is better IT management and more responsible IT management. Number two, things that we're looking forward to or interested to see what happens is with Apple. We've talked a lot about Apple this year, a lot of the things that they've been doing, from the MacBook Pro that doesn't seem to be like it's built for pros anymore, that doesn't have a whole lot of connections. You got to buy a bunch of dongles to connect anything. There's not even an SD card slot in there anymore. And they removed the MagSafe holder, or the MagSafe power attachment. So I don't know where they're going with it. And if you read a lot of articles, you start to see that people are starting to criticize Apple's direction, their vision. What are they really doing? Are they just trying to suck up as much money as they can? And they're not really, they started off as the rebel company. They were the company that was going to go out there and they were fighting for, that person that wanted something different than the PC. And now they don't seem to quite have that anymore, especially since Steve Jobs passed away. So it's going to be interesting to see where they go with the new iPhone 8. See if they come out with any new iPads, if they're going to do something with the iPad Pro. Well, Apple is going to be, as the largest company in the space, it's going to be interesting to see where they go and how they impact the market. Number three is malware, cybersecurity, hacking. It's becoming a bigger and bigger problem. Yahoo has just announced that years ago, 1 billion accounts were hacked and information was stolen. Passwords are stolen. Our identities are online, and the more we jump online for everything from the little click buttons that Amazon gives you to reorder your Tide detergent, to Google, the Google in-home device, the Alexa product, Siri. Our lives are so intertwined with everything we're doing anymore. Companies that used to sell us books like Amazon used to do, now they know what we watch, they know what we buy for our households, and they know the questions that we ask when we're sitting at our desk and we ask Alexa a question. Google's aggregating all that information also. And so as all of our information goes into the cloud and all of this gets thrown into a database, it's a big juicy target for hackers. And if a company as large as Yahoo can be hacked, it's going to be a significant problem for these larger companies with more sophisticated, even state-sponsored hacks. And we've seen that with the election also, the accusations that had happened. I think, on a smaller scale with businesses, a problem is going to be, just your general viruses, your encryption viruses. And we've seen it in the financial planning space that they're requiring more on the small practices. They're requiring more security, more best practices, and more things that they need to adhere to, policies they need to adhere to protect the client data. And it's the right way to go. But it's going to be harder for these smaller businesses to keep up with it and manage it all. And I think they're going to find themselves out of compliance with a lot of it. And on a broad scale, with small business in general, with everything flying around in emails and through drive-by downloads on websites and people bringing in flash drives from home, there is a significant security threat. I believe that some of these things, I think there's going to be a virus. I mean, put simply, I think there's going to be a virus that we find out has been on a vast number of PCs and nobody had any idea for the longest time, and all it did was sit and steal our information. And I don't think there's anything that anybody can do about it. It might not happen this year, it might not happen 2 years from now, but I think that there's a significant threat, especially with the velocity of information flying around. There's a significant threat of there being a major virus outbreak. So I think that this landscape, it's incredibly fertile for new cybersecurity companies, and I think it's incredibly fertile for the opposite side, the dark side, the people that are looking to gather all that information and steal it from us. So it's a matter of trying to mitigate the risk as best we can. Number 4 on our things we're looking forward to this year is the rise of the machines, and we've seen it come out in all sorts of different stories. You have the cars that drive themselves. We have the Alexa product from Amazon. We have Siri. We have even now automation. With the threat to business owners of raising the minimum wage, you have businesses that are now investing money in automating all of those jobs. So we have machine learning on the Google and data aggregation side of it and Amazon. And then we also have the automation side of it where jobs are going to be taken by machines as companies try to get away from higher payroll. And the impact that that's going to have is going to be significant. The landscape is going to be in some places ugly, in other places incredibly convenient. We'll see where that goes. The last thing that we're looking forward to or we're watching this year is user experience. And I think that this first hit me a couple of years ago as I watched my son at 2 years old or even 1 year old play with an iPad. They intuitively know what to do with an iPad. The swipe, if they're watching YouTube, to make the screen go down, to click to the next thing, to skip a commercial. They learn it so easily. And I think my 6.5-year-old is incredibly bright. He can use an iPad. I mean, he's learning things that it took me forever to figure out, right? Because I didn't grow up with it. And I put a laptop in front of him and try to get him to use Windows, and he has no idea how to use it. It's not intuitive. It's something that we learned as it was developed, but it's not natural. So we have now augmented reality and virtual reality, and I think that a company that comes along with a good user experience that's intuitive, that can give you sort of a Windows desktop PC experience, but somehow changed, whether it's three-dimensional or immersive or less point and click, whether you can speak to the computer, whatever comes naturally and doesn't make the person feel goofy doing it. If somebody can figure that out, I think the user experience, I think we can take a leap ahead forward. I think it's just a matter of that one person or company figuring out what that is. So those are our 5 things that we're looking forward to this year. I think that I think there were some good picks. I don't know. We'll see. I think this one is very selfish, but we'll see what we've got coming up in the next year. And I guess at the end of 2017, I'm going to have to review this list and see how I did. But hey, have a happy new year, and we will see you next year.